All right. You know what? I'm actually excited to be back. It is June the 5th, 2023. Beautiful Monday just outside of Philadelphia here today. T-Street Controversy with Fight View 360 with my colleague Big J, and we're going to talk some Australian boxing. So we got George Kambosos versus Maxi Hughes. What's going on with Dempsey McKean? And this is not in any particular order. Justis Huni has been injured. The Maloney brothers, what their next plan is, which one is it? Andrew. I don't know why I keep getting it mixed up. Andrew has not retired. You have Cherneka Johnson taking on Ellie Scotney this weekend. And Mick Zarafa, who we keep missing talking about, he has a fight coming up, likely on an undercard of Iris Lindy Lara versus Danny Garcia, and then Mick Zarafa will be the mandatory. That Danny Garcia-Lara fight is rumored to be at a catch weight of 155 pounds, and Zarafa would be the co-feature. But first, a few days ago, I believe it was Saturday, no, it was Friday, I believe, WBA regular champion at 135 pounds, Gervonta Tank Davis, was arrested for violating the terms of his 90-day house arrest by staying in a hotel or a condo when he was ordered to be staying with his coach, Calvin Ford. Judge locked him up immediately. He's going to do the full 90 days of his sentence in jail for a hit and run that took place a few years ago. So, Big J, before we move on, what did you think about this?
What an absolute fucktard. I mean, Tank's not the sharpest tool in the shed, and the motherfucker should have got 20 years for running over that poor pregnant woman. Okay, he gets kissed on the dick by a fairy. He gets the lightest sentence possible, and then he goes and tells the judge to go, what a fucking idiot. And furthermore, and you know this because we did a video on this, I was locked in my house for 2 fucking years doing COVID. My kids didn't go to school. I couldn't go to fucking work. And this millionaire who could live like a fucking king and people literally wipe his ass for him couldn't stay in his house for 90 days? What a fucktard. Fuck him. Give him 20 years.
Yeah.
Here's I got to get this rant. Sorry, I got to get the rant out of the way, otherwise I'll be pissed all 4 videos. So fuck him.
Yeah, here's I have it pulled up here on the screen. He was staying at a local Four Seasons hotel prior to purchasing a $3.4 million condo in a luxury community in Baltimore. Neither location was reported to the court by the boxer or his legal team. So Davis was ordered to attend an impromptu hearing June the 1st in which Judge Handy instructed authorities to take him into custody. So basically, the judge, from what I got from it online, basically the judge was like, listen, this is not a fucking vacation, because he lives in Miami. So she didn't want him to do his house arrest in Miami. So she told him to go home to Baltimore and do this. It's not supposed to be a pleasurable experience. So for him to be staying in a hotel while just buying a condo, like, where's this kid's guidance? Who's talking to him? It's crazy. Like, but when it comes to
he's a fucking grown man. He doesn't need guidance around him. He should be judge told me to do this.
Multi-millionaire and just doing dumb shit. But on to the next topic. This is a real weird one.
Fucking dumbass.
This is a real weird one. You have former undisputed 135-pound lightweight champion George Ferocious Kambosos, who's going to be fighting Maxi Hughes in Oklahoma on an Indian reservation. And before we talk about that, George Kambosos, 20-2, with 10 KOs, 29 years old, coming off of 2 very lucrative fights with Devin Haney, both in Australia, one in front of 40,000 plus. What was it, about 42,000, the first one?
Yeah, 42,000.
And the second one was like the second was between 10 and 12K thousand?
No. 14.
Okay. So, and what did we say? Average, and then we don't like counting fighters' pockets here, but when you talk about purses, that's always been a part of the sport of boxing. But he estimated to have made at least 15 million, right, off of those 2 fights?
Nah, anywhere between 8 to 15.
Okay.
That's a pretty big ballpark, but
yeah, he's made a lot of money.
10 plus for both those fights. I mean, the first one was rumored to be 10. The second one was rumored to be about half that. So, But, yeah, you don't believe everything you're saying. If you asked him, he'd tell you to fuck off.
Yeah, well, basically, he's made a lot of money.
He's made a lot of money. He could retire right now, do fuck all for the rest of his life and live like a king. Put his kids through, fancy smancy schools and, kick back and relax. So he certainly made enough money to do that.
Also, it will put him in the bracket of being one of the top paid athletes for last year alone in combat sports.
Easy.
I would say probably top 5 for 2022. Definitely. You got Canelo, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Fury. Put it this way, he's up there. Making more money than the Charlos, making more money than Lomachenko. He made a lot of money. So he's going to be fighting, which I kind of thought was a little bit of a weird fight. Maxi Hughes, a very strong fighter. He's got strong-willed fighter. He's not known to be a power puncher, but he's going to fight 26-5 with 2 KOs, 33 years old, of the UK. So once again, you have these 2 fighters, both of them not from the United States, fighting in Oklahoma. In the Fair Lake Arena in Shawnee, Oklahoma, it's a Indian Native American reservation. How about that? I'm not sure how many the arena seats.
5,000.
5,000.
I looked it up before.
Okay.
5,000.
So Maxi Hughes, he's known, I covered that fight, for that big win at this point in time in his career over Kid Galahad. Now, he's been on a roll since losing to Liam Walsh in 2019. So he's got wins over Johnny Carroll.
Kid Galahad was a blown-up super feather or featherweight?
I do. Yes, he was. Yes,
Yes,
indeed.
Yeah, so Kid Galahad, was a blown-up.
He jumped up two
was he super
divisions.
or featherweight? 126 or 130?
126.
Yeah, so a blown-up featherweight, which is jumping up 2 divisions to lightweight. So, but the reason George is fighting him is not for the IBO belt. George is like, it's the IBO belt, but it's for the IBF Eliminator, which is the real reason he's fighting him, is to become the #1 contender again for the IBF. If he beats Susie, which is the idea, which was Bob wanted all those years, 3-4 years ago before COVID broke out and fucked everything up. Bob wants Loma versus George in Australia. I mean, we've been talking about that for 3 years.
Yeah.
So
that was always supposed to be the plan.
That's the end. Well, it was supposed to happen before the war in Ukraine broke out, and unfortunately, him and the other boys had to go defend their countries. Good for them. But that was if the war didn't break out, we would have got Loma versus George before we got Loma versus Haney.
So that'll still likely happen with Lomachenko and George possibly meeting for vacant belts, depending on what Devin Haney does next.
Yeah, well,
or will. I think that they'll do Loma before they do Shakur Stevenson versus I don't see Kambosos fighting Shakur Stevenson. I don't see it.
No. They're going to say Shakur for Haney, and Loma is going to take on George after George deals with Maxi Hughes. That's the plan.
So you have George beating Maxi Hughes.
Oh yeah, George will fucking belt him.
Yeah, I think so. I think
George
he'll beat
will
Maxi.
belt him.
I won't be surprised if Maxi wins.
Fight. It won't be an easy fight, but I don't think Hughes is a real threat to George, because George's resume as lightweight's way better. I mean, he would have learnt so much from those 2 Haney fights, because remember that Haney's the only one that's ever beat him at 135.
Yeah.
So I think that George will take care of him if he doesn't get a UD, possibly a late stoppage. So because remember, George sat Lopez on his ass.
Yeah.
Lopez is huge.
Yeah.
So Hughes ain't that big. So
Maxi Hughes is more of a pressure fighter, like a strong-willed, strong heart type of fighter. I don't, no disrespect to him. He's not, really a technician. He's a guy that's going to come right at you. And George is going to be the better overall skilled fighter in the ring. And I'm going to be picking him to win a decision, but do not be surprised if it's a lot more of an entertaining fight than people are giving it credit for. It's going to be on July the 22nd in the Fair Lake Arena in Shawnee, Oklahoma. Closing thoughts on Kambosos Hughes?
Oh, yeah, George for the win. No worries at all. Either UD or late stoppage.
All right. Take your time out. Like the video, subscribe. You can follow us on Twitter at TstreeT Controversy or Big J at the bottom of the screen there. As you can see, old mate Big J on Twitter. Next topic is the Maloney's. Couple weeks. What's it been, about 3 weeks since their last fight?
2, I think. 2.
Yeah. Okay.
2-3 weeks.
Yeah. So Have you heard anything next on them? Let's touch on them a little bit briefly. For example, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, Jason,
Go ahead.
they were on the project last night, which is Australian, like a talk show, a variety slash news slash variety talk show. I don't watch it, but yeah, they were on there, and basically Jason wants a big defence in Australia, which is no surprises there. And Andrew most likely is going to be on the card. They didn't mention who he's going to defend against.
Okay.
Personally, I'd like to see him fight Paul Butler, but he'll probably go after. We have to wait and see all these what's going on with all these other belts.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, because we don't know when Rodriguez is having his fight. I mean, Anito Donaire, I think you said it, he's dropping down to 115 because his missus said that. Is that confirmed?
Yeah,
or?
it wasn't confirmed. It was on this Filipino outlet, and it was a quote from her. But no, it hasn't been confirmed yet. But that 118 belt is right there. And he's ranked number one by the WBC.
Yeah, so he's either going to have a voluntary defence, because there's no mandatory, because him and old mate were the mandatories, or he'll go after a unification bout. And I reckon if he gets a chance for unification bout, fucking go for it.
Yeah.
Because the only other man in Australian history to ever have a unification bout was Daniel Gill.
Okay.
There's been guys who fought for unified belts, like Lionel Rose had the undisputed bantamweight champion back in 68 when he fought Fighting Harada. George, but that was unified. This is a unification bout. Big difference. Putting your belt up against someone else's belt.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's only happened once before in Australian history.
And as far as Andrew, has there been any talk of him probably moving up in weight to, how's he doing at 115? He's been there for a while.
He said, I've spoken to him many times. He said he's happy to do it his whole career. Because remember, these are tiny, tiny blokes.
Yeah, these
are jockey-sized blokes. They are tiny. Right?
Well,
I'm not
he's
that
in a
big of a
tough-ass
guy.
division, so it's like, I'm guessing, they're just going to rebuild him back up and go after another title shot.
Well, they're going to have to.
It's going to be a long road.
Exactly.
Or does he go the money route? The money route and go for big fights, that gives the bigger person. He says, what the hell with a title? If it comes, it comes.
Well, I mean, George, there's always the IBO. I don't know who owns the IBO at the moment. I don't know. I think it might be vacant. Is it? I think it is vacant. Anyway, there's always the IBO out there, and Australians have a healthy relationship with the IBO. So, we can always do that. But I don't know what he does. I think he's just going to have a big, deep breath. And he says he's all right. He was on television last night saying he was okay. The loss obviously shook him up a bit, but he'll get there. So
okay.
But do you throw him back in and give him another big fight, or do you give him an easy fight to get his confidence back up? It's like, I think Andrew's one of those guys where he's the groomsman, never the groom. It's like he's been the groomsman, he's been the best man, but he's never been the groom, if that makes sense. To put it in, because he got given a title, he won a vacant interim title, so bridal party, bumped him up to a groomsman, then made him the best man, but never been the groom. I know it's a terrible analogy, but
no, I got you. Basically, it's the equivalent of like always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I got you. He's like, he'll get there, but he'll always be there around the mix, but never be the guy.
Exactly. He'll never be the head honcho. He's always in the mix, but he's always in the bridal party, but he's never the groom, if that makes sense.
And it's crazy just how they're just totally two different fighters, him and his brother.
Well, to be fair to Andrew, Jason had an easier opponent for a vacant title. As I said before, the only reason Jason's champion is because Inoue's not there.
Yeah.
He could beat Butler, absolutely. He would beat Butler in the defence, but Butler wasn't the champion. Inoue was. Yeah. So, let's face facts. The only reason he's champion, the only reason any of those guys in 118 will even get a title, because Inoue's not around. Because Inoue would smack the shit out of the fucking lot of them.
Yeah.
So,
he's gone.
Maybe about that.
And Noye's going to be fighting.
He's about to give.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's his Stephen Fulton, is that his name?
Yep, July the 25th, the same week as Spence versus Crawford. It's going to be in Japan. It's going to be on ESPN here in the States, and I'm sure it's going to be main event pay-per-view for you guys over in Australia.
Oh, for sure. Old mate's going to probably get the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah, so y'all got a big pay-per-view week over there that week in July with those two of Spence Crawford and Fulton. Fulton and Noye. So
it'd be good.
To clean up some things, let me go back to the Kambosos Maxi Hughes to announce the undercard. I want to make sure I'm doing that going forward. You got Keyshawn Davison taking on Francisco Patera. Giovanni Tillian versus Eric Bonet. I haven't seen him in years. Mike Balagon. I gotta fix these names. It's Hime Aheyo. Wait a minute, you know that guy? What's that? Hime Aheyo.
No, I have to have a look at it. Hang on.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up now. Hold on. 20-1. He's from Auckland, New Zealand.
Oh, he's a Kiwi fighter. Hang on.
Yeah, he fought Django last. He was on the undercard. He lost in the fourth. I think this was the guy that got knocked out. He got knocked out by Apollo.
Opalu in Haney.
Yeah. I watched this fight. I remember that. Well, he's on the undercard. You got Ronnie Hines versus Michael Perriton and Troy Isley and Jeremiah Milton rounding out the undercard. So let's talk about the fight that's going on this week. This week, you have a fight that I'm really looking forward to between two women. Cherneka Johnson, 15-1 with 6 KOs, taking on Ellie Scotney, 6-0 with 0 KOs, 25 years old. Two very, very good female fighters. Now, I'm going with Cherneka. By the way, I didn't forgot, what card is this going to be on? Let me pull this up. It's going to be on Sonny Edwards versus Andres Campos. This is going to be on DAZN here in the States. You also have Nina Hughes taking on Katie Healy. Shannon Ryan taking on Martina Bernil, the other women on the card. Very solid card. But how do you feel about Cherneka versus Scotney?
I think Cherneka will get there. I think that she proved that she's no easy beat and that she's as tough as nails against Susie. And remember, she's the only woman to ever knock Susie down, and that's no easy feat. I mean, obviously, she's a lot bigger and a lot younger than Susie was, but still, no one managed to knock her down. So, yeah, I think Cherneka, if she's trained well, she's done the right thing, I don't think she'll have any dramas because she has been in there with some experienced women. She gave Shannon O'Connell. That was a very close fight. You remember that was on the Mundine Zarafa undercard. Pretty much saved that show, to be honest. So she's had the fight with Susie. Obviously, the one thing that might work against it. How young is Ellie Scotney?
25. Neeks is 28.
Okay, so this is the first time in a while that Neeks is fighting a much younger opponent because Shannon was pushing 40, Susie's over 40. So it's a big demographic when you go into fight a fighter who's at the literally back end of their career to someone who's up and young and beat. So that might be a factor, but I think Cherneka should be fine.
Just to point out, the record of Ellie Scotney, no KOs, but she's fought some like really tough competition. Beck Connolly, when Beck Connolly wasn't just being wheeled out to get beat up on, she was actually kind of like somewhat like
half decent.
Yeah. Maylee's Gangloff, we all know how we feel about her loss to Ebony Bridges, and she fought Maria Cecilia Roman, who also had fought Ebony Bridges.
Question: what weights did she fight all these girls at?
122. No,
okay. So,
but the Connolly fight, that was her first fight. So normally fighters, their debuts, they're not fighting in the division that they're going to be in. So that fight was at 126. But all of her fights have been at 122.
Yeah, remember both. Has she fought Melissa Parker?
Who, Scotney?
Yeah, Scotney. Who's she fighting again? Because she fought. Gangloff and what's the other girl's name? The one that Ebony beat for the title.
Maria Roman.
Yeah, Roman. They're both blown up bantamweights.
I'm looking at this now. So I'm looking at Gangloff resume. Her last fight, which was actually last month, she fought at 115, and she's been a career one. Yeah, so remember, and both Celia Roman, she was a long-reigning bantamweight. So when she steps up to 122, she doesn't do too flash because Melissa Parker beat her at 122, like her fourth fight in or something.
Ellie Scotney beat her about, what was it, 5 fights in or something like that.
Yep.
So, Roman is a traditional 118er.
Yeah, see, I'm looking
right?
at,
And she
I have that
steps
pulled
up. And once she steps up to girls that are obviously cutting down because they're bigger, she doesn't do too flash. So,
Yeah. Well,
go ahead. Cherneka is Cherneka herself is a blown up one. So, but we'll see. But Cherneka's a lot younger too. So
yeah, she's also a bigger, like she just looks like she's going to be the overall.
She's a much bigger fighter.
Yeah, she's going to be the bigger fighter.
Yeah, I mean, she towered over Susie. But then again, Susie's a very tiny lady. So.
All right, we're going to take a little small break. For you guys watching, it's only going to be a split second, just a frame. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe. You can find us on Twitter, me at TstreeT Controversy, and Big J at Old Mate Big J right there at the bottom of the screen. Also, just type into your Google search bar the Fight View 360 Boxing Podcast or Fight View 360 Australian Boxing Podcast. And as I'm looking at it right now, we are fully recognized. We're available on all your listening platforms from Spotify, Google, iTunes, and so on. Also, stay tuned for our Rumble channel and our Twitch channel, which will be very active soon. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, drop a like. Stay tuned. We are back. We're going to talk about, just briefly, give a shout out to a longtime friend and channel supporter, Susie Q Ramadan, 29-4 with 12 KOs. Looking at that age, like she's 44 years old. It's different in men's and women's boxing because right there, that is like officially the twilight of her career. Now, women, you see a lot of them 40, 41, 42, 43, but she's definitely, respectfully, one of the more seasoned, let's say that way. You can't talk about a women's age. Seasoned female fighter. She's going to be fighting, that's in 2 weeks, the 16th, against a rumored, or you can say it's confirmed, she's going to be fighting Sacha Ryan Dryden?
Yeah, pretty much.
Dryden?
Yeah, pretty much. I haven't spoken to the champ about this one yet, but I'll speak to her in the coming week or so. Yeah, but I dare say that's been confirmed because there's posts about it all over Facebook and stuff. So.
Okay. And tell me about the undercard. Sure. You got a Renold Quinlan headlining, right, against a Lucas Miller, and it's a rematch.
Yes, this is a rematch from a fight that those boys had last year, and it's for the Australian light heavyweight title.
Gotcha.
I'm looking forward to that because Renold Quinlan is on a 3-fight win streak, including that massive knockout of Jack Bowen last year, where everyone thought that Quinlan would get the absolute shit punched out of him, and he knocked the shit out of Jack Bowen. In my opinion, the knockout of the year, because it was pretty much the upset of the year, domestically speaking. Would you have that
KO over who did Hartman get knocked out by again?
Yeah, absolutely, because Isaac Hartman fought some bloke that hadn't fought in like 2 years and was 10 years older than him. And that's including the Zarafa one when Zarafa knocked out Hartman, because Hartman was never on Zarafa's level. So absolutely, because everyone thought, including myself, that Renold was going to get knocked out by Jack Bowen, and Renold knocked the shit out of him. It was like, what was that fight when old mate won his IBF title back? Was it Kid Galahad versus Kiko Martinez?
Yeah, knocked the shit out of him.
Where he was
it coming.
In trouble. Yeah, in trouble. He knocked him down in the 4th and then polished him off in the 5th.
Yeah, the very beginning.
It was a carbon copy of that fight.
Yeah.
It was a carbon copy of that fight. So I'm actually really looking forward to this.
Okay, so I'm guessing it's going to be what? They're going to be televised on Fox, something like that, one of them type cards?
Nah, it might be. Well, this is a Brian Amatruda card. They might have a stream because it's a local show at the Melbourne Pavilion, which is pretty much a very famous, boxing in Melbourne. That's where all the, those local, I wouldn't say local, but those national cards happen.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, it's not a no limit card, but it's the next tier down, if that makes sense. So, yes, for big Victorian fights, that's where it happens, the Pavilion. Brian Amatruda has been doing that for years, and he always puts on a good show. I've been to one of them. It was great. I'm going to get off my ass and see if I can make this one.
Okay.
But actually, with that fight card, I mean, you got Mason Smith, who's a former Nikita Zoo opponent. Terry Nichols, who is also, I think he's one of George Kambosos' fighters. I think he's in that scope of things. Could be wrong. There's some good names on this card, that's for sure. So it definitely be worth a look.
Okay. Next fighter we're going to talk about before we get to what's going on with Mixer Rafa. I've been really intrigued with the story of heavyweight prospect, fringe contender. Let me see, is he ranked anywhere? I think he is.
Yeah,
right?
he's ranked. He's
So
ranked.
he's a
I
contender.
believe he was. He might not be now, but at one point he was ranked in like the top 20 with the WBC because he won
Okay.
all those belts off. I think it was Joseph Goodall. There was like 3 belts, regional belts
Okay,
on
so
the line when
basically,
he fought Joseph Goodall.
To be a contender, for those who don't know, you have to be ranked in the top 15 by one of the sanctioning bodies, the WBC, WB, IBF, and WBO. He is a contender because he's ranked number 14 by the WBO. Okay.
Okay, I thought he was ranked by the WBC, but yeah, I think against the Goodall fight he did win. I know he won an OBPF belt, which is a regional belt for WBC. I think he won a WBO. What did he win against Goodall? Can we look it up?
I do not know. Hold on. It was an IBF Pan Pacific, Oriental Pacific, and the WBO Oriental.
Yeah, well, the WBO Oriental would have got him that ranking.
Mm-hmm.
So those Oriental would have got him the bottom 15 ranking. Then you're like Global's like top 5. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, he has been injured and pulled off of what was this card he was supposed to be on?
It was supposed to be the Liam Prograis fight, but Liam Paro's injured, and now bloody Justis Huni's injured. So
yeah, I got Ben David's tweet pulled up here.
Again?
I'm sorry. He's going to be in the Regis Prograis card. Let me pull that up.
That's it.
But yeah, he's got a nasty looking injury right here. Let me see. Does it say what it is? An ankle. Oh, he snapped an ankle ligament.
Ankle. Yeah, I sent the picture. You got the
Yeah, I'm
picture
looking at it. I have it up here now. Oh man.
That's good. That's courtesy of Ben Damon's tweet. So,
yeah, I have it all pulled up. But it's like he's gonna be out for a little while again. So now he's injury prone. So can you run down how he's got to this point? You know, going back to his fight with Paul Gallen in the Olympic scandal for people, or the Olympic debauchery for those who don't know.
Well, I wouldn't call it a scandal. I'd call it a
debauchery.
I would call it a scandal.
Yeah,
debauchery. Yeah, that's probably a better word, but I'd still say fuck up. Anyway, I've got it in front of me. Before the Olympics in 2021, he fought 3 times in the space of 2 months. He fought Jack Marvis in April of 2021. Then he fought Christian Soy in May of 2021. And then not even a month after that, he fought Paul Gallen and then was going to go to the Olympics a month after that. Unfortunately, when he fought Paul Gallen, or even beforehand, I dare say he probably did it in the Christian Soy fight, he busted his hand. And then he hurt it again in the Paul Gallen fight. And then he needed surgery on both hands, and his Olympic dream was shot to shit. And I said, and I still say it was the biggest fuck up in Australian boxing history, because now this kid is injury prone. He's just had his jets cooled again, and I really don't think he's going to have a career. I mean, I think in maybe 2-3 years' time, this poor kid's going to end up working construction somewhere in Logan, which is a southern suburb of Brisbane. So, I mean, I think this kid's career is going to be over before it even begins, and he'll go down as one of the biggest what-ifs in Australian boxing history, which is a shame, because he's lightning quick. He's got the movement of a lightweight, but unfortunately he doesn't have the power, and even if he did make into that fringe contender, he'd probably get knocked out anyway. So
yeah, especially with like the hand things that he's got going on.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
It's a real shame, because everyone was picking that he was going to be a real threat at the Olympics. They were talking gold medal, but I mean, Paris is next year, so he can still make that because he's under 10 fights. I believe that's the rules. If you're under 10 fights, you can still go to the Olympics. But yeah, I mean, now that he's injury prone, I mean, now both his legs and his hands are buggered. I mean, if you can't move and you can't punch,
Yeah,
it's
and
just
then the
going to be
confidence of being able to lay on his punches or do different things in the ring because of the injuries.
That's right. I mean, these are pretty significant injuries. I mean, your hand injuries, now he's torn a ligament in his ankle. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Not good.
All right, we're going to be following what's going on with Justis Huni, but as it stands right now, he may be out for at least another 6 months. You know, I don't know how long it takes for someone to heal, an athlete to heal from a torn ligament in an ankle, but that sounds pretty seriously, especially for a fighter who relies on movement. Once again, take your time out, like the video, subscribe. You can follow us on Twitter. At the bottom of the screen, you can see you can follow Big J at Old Mate Big J and me at T Street Controversy. Drop a like, please subscribe.